What are we looking at here, Rick?
Oh, here's your window sticker off this '08 Corvette. It's a 6.2 liter, says 436 horsepower. It's an automatic, the paddle shift 6-speed. EPA is rated at 15 city and 25 on the highway.
Alright, so how much horsepower did we just add by putting the turbos on it?
We add about 200 horsepower to it.
Okay.
And so the car's a whole lot more fun to drive.
So obviously that you got to throw that mileage rating out the window, right?
Oh, well, you know, that's not completely necessary. So we'll go drive this car and see what we picked up on mileage. Turbos make a lot of horsepower. You can pull on the freeway at over 100 miles an hour before you have to merge. But so the horsepower is the easy part with the turbo. But you know, with today's gas prices and everything, we get a lot of people that they're wondering what it's going to do to their fuel mileage. And so we're going to take a little drive in this '08 Corvette and just kind of show you what happens to the fuel mileage on these cars. This car is about close to 600 at the tires, which is up, you know, a couple hundred horsepower, and so it's a lot of fun to drive. But it's, you know, $4 a gallon. You know, what's it going to do to you driving down the road when you're not enjoying the horsepower? And this car's rated at around 15 city and 25 on the highway. And you know, we're cruising along here pretty good at 70 miles an hour, and you can watch the instant fuel mileage on it. We'll go here for a little bit, and you can see that, you know, this car can pull down, you know, 35-40 miles a gallon, which is pretty impressive considering, you know, a little Honda or something, you'd be lucky to get 30. At least that's what they're rated at, is, you know, in that 30 to 40 range. But I guarantee you this car's a whole lot more fun to drive than a Honda. But you know, you don't have to go 55 either. You can get some pretty good mileage just cruising down the road. You know, the nice thing about the turbo is it just makes the motor work a lot more efficiently. And the combination of the exhaust back pressure, the lack of parasitic loss to spin the turbo, and the way that the exhaust drives the turbine so that it will fill the cylinders really nicely. It just makes for really good, efficient power. You almost have to drive it to understand the power that you get at quarter throttle is absolutely amazing. You know, you'd have to be 3/4 throttle or more to get that kind of power out of a stock engine. So you don't put your foot in it. Very rare that you have to downshift, especially if you're driving a truck. You take a 5.3 Chevy truck or something. If you're pulling a trailer, if you ever done that, you'll see that thing is downshifting and running in second gear more than it's running in overdrive, and they'll consume massive amounts of fuel just because your RPMs are so high to get the power out of it. Your foot's always to the floor. You put the turbo on those trucks, and all of a sudden you're climbing stuff at 70 miles an hour in overdrive at quarter throttle that you're having a hard time pulling in second gear with the thing to the floor before. You know, you can get a big increase in mileage. That's not where the EPA rates theirs at. But yeah, it's kind of hard for some people as well. It's like, well, how can you get more horsepower and get better mileage? Because they're not used to that. Anytime you start adding the horsepower and changing cams, and putting a supercharger on or anything like that, you start sucking horsepower off the crankshaft, you're going to get worse mileage.
So you were talking about the way that the turbo fills the cylinder, and that's basically the reason why you can make good power just cruising down the road and not have to use as much fuel. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the car is able to make more efficient power with the turbos on there. Obviously, when they're making a lot of boost, you're making very efficient power. But even when you're just driving down the road, the way the turbo restricts the exhaust a little bit, you almost get an EGR effect out of it. But it also, at the same time as doing that, it is pushing air into the engine, and it's kind of a phenomenon how it all works together. But it results in better fuel mileage. As long as you're not putting your foot into it. Obviously, if you stab your foot into there and start making 600-700 horsepower.